What's happening, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm sitting here with Dustin Zimmerman. And today we're going to do some risers and fallers for the 2025 NFL Draft. We haven't really done any prospect videos since, I guess, June or May, and I did that one with Cam.
Yeah. I mean, we touch on them in our weekly recaps, but
Right.
we're going a lot more in depth today.
Yeah, this will be like the main guys that we want to shout out as risers and fallers, guys we've already talked about in the past. I'm definitely going to talk about some dark horses on both the risers and fallers side, which is, when you miss on a dark horse, it's okay because if you get them right on the other side, we'll take some of those, But let's get into it. The first couple guys on this board, we kind of talked about in the past. Dustin, I know he's talked about Harold Fannin Jr. before because they did play against Texas A&M. But starting it off, we have Cam Ward from Miami. The reason Cam Ward is on this board is because preseason Cam Ward was projected, if Cam Ward doesn't transfer to Miami last year and he goes into the draft like he had already originally thought about doing after Washington State, he is not going to go in the first 4 rounds.
No, he's not.
So him coming back, he has elevated himself an insane amount to be possibly a top 3 guy in this draft class for the quarterback position.
Yep.
That is just a complete 360. Just like who was it last? Jaden Daniels did last year.
Yeah.
He went from Arizona State 5th rounder all the way up to the number 2 overall pick, and he's killing it at Washington right now.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another guy that's doing something similar. But yeah, Cam Ward also most passing yards on the season. If you look up there, he's got 2,219 passing yards. That's first through 5 games. And then he also has the most touchdowns by 3 through 5 games. So
I believe it. He's running that offense, as we saw in their big comeback. I mean, they gave up 38. They only won because Cam Ward could put up 39.
Yeah. Well, I was actually going to bring that up is he's had the reason he's also climbing is he's had 2 back-to-back comebacks, Virginia Tech, and then okay, I know you're going to say Virginia Tech won that game. I completely agree with you, but
not for this episode.
I completely agree with you. But at the same time, that was not on him. He had actually already made the comeback at that point.
Yeah, no, same thing. Again, dropped 35. It's not, or what was it 38?
38.
Yeah, that's what it ended up 38, 34. So.
Yeah.
His PFF grade also has gone up. Last year was 80.2. This year it's at 93 right now.
Mm-hmm.
He only threw 25 touchdowns last year. He's already at 20 halfway through the year. So, I mean, he's elevated his game like crazy.
Yeah.
And that doesn't even talk about just the eye test. When you just watch him play, he looks like he's jogging around.
Yeah.
Like he quite literally, I don't know that I've seen him sprint or at least look like he's sprinting, yet he's outrunning defensive backs.
Right.
It's insane.
He has a 91.2 QBR, which is third in the nation. And then think about this too. He's keeping a Miami team in the top 6 right now, which is insane to say because they're not necessarily talented enough to be there. And the reason they are there is because of Cam Ward.
Yep.
So
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. The next guy, Harold Fannin Jr. From Bowling Green. I want to preface this preseason, and I'm going to do this about all the guys. I'm going to talk about a preseason prediction and then our preseason where they were scouted to be taken in the NFL draft versus where they are now.
Right.
Preseason, he was on nobody's radar. He was a projected free agent coming out of this year, and he has 134.4 yards per game right now, which is just insane.
Yeah.
That's 280 more than the next closest tight end. He's just been better than everybody.
Yeah, he's going off.
Yeah, he's going crazy.
It's insane to see, especially a guy from Bowling Green.
Well, yeah, but the cool thing about him is he didn't just do it this year. Last year, he was also the number 1 rated PFF grade out of all tight ends. So he's back-to-back years doing that. He was productive. He wasn't this productive. This is insane, of course.
Right.
But he should be considered the front runner for the Mackey Award, in my opinion.
I would completely agree. Just seeing him actually watching him play, the guy's unstoppable.
Oh yeah, A&M.
He runs such good routes for being 6'4", 230. And again, he's a tight end. We're not talking about a slot receiver who's supposed to be quick across the middle.
Yeah,
but he's outrunning defensive backs.
Yes, he is a freak athlete. He, like we said, should be front runner for the Mackey Award. He's been doing some awesome things, and he is one of the highest graded all-time tight ends by PFF at the moment. So it's pretty cool statistics for him.
And he is a junior, so we're kind of thinking he's going to come out early.
Yes,
with how this season's going.
Yeah, I would not come back, especially if I have to go back to Bowling Green.
I mean, it's one of those things. Can he really help his draft stock that much?
Right.
I don't foresee another season of getting, again, first in PFF really boosting him anymore. Because, again, he's at Bowling Green. It's not like the team dynamic's going to change all that much.
Exactly.
If anything, it's going to be a lose situation for him. They're only going to get worse. So
yeah, I told y'all we're going to do new predictions of where we think these guys are going to go. Right now, if I had to guess, he's a second rounder, which is much better than where he was prior. And he's the first tight end off the board, in my personal opinion, right now.
Well, I'm sure when he entered college or whenever he went to Bowling Green, he didn't exactly think to himself, this is my path to being a top 2-round draft pick. So,
right, exactly.
But he's clearly elevated himself.
All right, so on this next screen, this is the best screen of the day right here. Get ready, everybody. Bang. That's those two guys right there are both dark horses from the original shooting of our 2025 prospects. Ashton Jeanty has been the best football player in college football. There are people saying that when he goes to the pros, he's gonna, he's gonna be the best, one of the best players just at the position already. He's what we expected Bijan to be, is what I've heard, things like that. I just think this guy is an absolute beast on a different level, and he's showing it. His rushing grade so far through this year is 99.8 by PFF. I've never seen anything over 94. He's got a 99.8. He's the best football player in college right now.
That's absolutely insane. That is yes. 99.8. He is that close to whatever their metric is of perfection. Yes. He's about probably one poor play from that.
Right, exactly. His elusive rating is 393.4. 393.4. The best last year, and I remember this, is because we talked about it, was 126. He has a 393.4. He has a 7.95 yards after contact per attempt.
Jeez.
Like, what is this man made of? Like,
and that's per attempt. That's not counting the ones where he just breaks away from people.
Right.
Goes on a 70-yard touchdown untouched.
Yeah, that's every attempt.
Happened against Oregon.
Multiple times.
Not exactly a cupcake school there.
No, and something I like to mention is also he didn't play the second half of this last game or the Portland State game. So he's only done it in eight halves. He's had 1,031 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns. He basically has a per half. He's got 2 touchdowns per half. He's just a different breed. 96.7 PFF grade. That's actually low in my opinion. If that tells you anything about how good this guy is.
I know on recent, I don't remember if it was DraftKings or Prize Picks, one of them had a prop for him of like 2 touchdowns, and he was like a minus 200 to get that.
Right.
Like, it is heavily favored. He's going to score multiple touchdowns. It's just a matter of, is it going to be 3, 4, 5? Yes. What's he going to get today?
And like we said, he was a preseason dark horse for us on the show. And the best part about him is he hasn't even shown off his pass catching ability because he didn't had to. Last year he had over 500 receiving yards. Yeah. And so he can do that too. He's just built different. Yeah. He is literally built different.
Yeah, this year he only has 6 receptions.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's crazy.
Hasn't needed to catch it.
The next guy up, Trey Harris. Preseason, he was a late second or early third player. PFF still has him ranked as the 112th overall player and the 17th receiver, which is insane to me, but we'll just let them be because they did also give him a 90.8 grade. It's second out of 939 receivers. He has been the best receiver in football, in college football right at this point. If you ask me, he has the most receiving yards at this point, and he reminds me a lot of AJ Brown.
Yeah.
He is pretty awesome. He was our wide receiver dark horse. He's big-bodied, old-school type of wide receiver.
6'3", 210.
Yeah.
From Louisiana. Senior this year, so he's going in the draft. Guy is insane to watch. I think we've pulled it up in the past. At one point, he had 3 times as many receptions as anybody else on the team.
Yes, he still does, I think, actually.
Now he's at 52. Let's see Ole Miss's full team.
You know, the best player, what most people thought was Antoine Wells as being the best receiver on that team. He has got like 14, 15 receptions, I feel like.
He is second on the team with 17. So still less than a third of what Trey Harris has.
Yep,
and then yards-wise, Harris has 885. Wells is at 371.
He's what makes Jackson Dart right now.
Absolutely.
And his 90.3 covered grade versus man coverage by PFF is an absolutely insane number.
Yeah.
He's just he's just really good. He's just really good, and he's going to go. And my prediction for him is to be a mid first rounder. Reminds me of AJ Brown. Like I said, AJ Brown goes in the early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of the same guy,
Right?
Same place, same everything. So yeah, I'm really excited about Trey Harris for sure.
Fun to see a guy looks like he started his career at Louisiana Tech.
He did, yeah.
Fun to see him move up to Ole Miss and then have a breakout year like this.
Mm-hmm. And then our next grouping are some O linemen, because you got to give the love to the big guys. They're they need it absolutely.
We've talked about them on our football academy videos. They are the heart and soul.
Yeah,
of every
yeah.
Offense,
and they don't get enough love for sure. So another dark horse from our original dark horses in Josh Simmons, coming out of Ohio State. He has looked so good, and really, the NFL is predicated on who can pass block.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this guy right here is one of the best pass blockers in college football right now. 89 pass block grade, which is one of the highest of the position.
Yep.
He's a left tackle through and through. He played 824 snaps at left tackle in 2023, and then 2022 played 799 at right tackle. He can do both.
Nice.
Just a guy you want to get on your team for sure.
Absolutely.
Let me get to, so let's talk about the other side, the UT player, Cameron Williams from Texas. Cameron Williams in preseason was on nobody's radar. He actually sat. He was not the starter. He's one of the only ones that didn't start last year for this offensive line.
Really?
Yes, because they had Christian Jones. Christian Jones comes out in the draft.
Right.
You plug in Cameron Williams, who is a tower of a man, like an absolute freaking tower.
Yeah.
6'5", 335.
Insane.
Did you watch the Michigan UT game at all?
I did. Of course I did.
Okay. So the holding call that wasn't a holding call that called back. Yeah, that was Cameron Williams.
First quarter.
Yes, in the first quarter.
That was drive or whatever.
Yeah, that was Cameron Williams that got called for that as he threw that guy on the ground. His arms literally touch his knees when he's standing straight up and down. I feel like he has got some insane tree trunks, good anchor, all the things you want. And he is now projected to be a mid or late first rounder.
Oh, wow.
He has jumped from nobody's radar to one of the best players in football at this point.
Well, when you're 6'5", 335 and got a lot of talent behind it, you can make a jump like that.
Mm-hmm.
So good for him.
Well, him and Kelvin Banks are the best duo at the tackle position. And
yeah, the Texas team is pretty insane. So,
and that's compared to LSU, who has Emory Jones on one side and oh my gosh, what's his name? The big white boy. Why am I flipping it? It is, oh my goodness, Will Campbell. Will Campbell on the other side. So I would take the Texas offensive line over those two guys, and that's saying something because coming into the year, both Will Campbell and Emory Jones were ranked in the top 20. So
seems fair then.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good. Going on to the next guys, we'll start off with Donovan Ezeraku from Boston College. He has been so impressive. And I was not sure. I didn't actually know who this was prior to the year, really. I knew he was a late round guy. I've heard of him from Boston College a little bit, but I never really watched film on him.
Right.
He is going to be a second rounder at the end of the day. He was most likely going to go in the 6th, 7th round, maybe an undrafted free agent.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he has the most sacks in the NCAA at the moment at 9, which is pretty cool. And he also is one of the best speed to power type of edge rushers I've seen at this point in the year. So he's pretty good. He also is good at making tackles in the run game. Pretty good. He's pretty dang good.
Sounds pretty good. I agree.
Yeah. He would probably have to stand up at the next level, play a little outside linebacker.
Only 2 sacks last year, 9 this year. Guy's making a name for himself.
Yeah, he's definitely, and PFF has him ranked in the top 30 at this point.
He's 6'2", 247. You think he'll probably have to move to linebacker? Just undersized.
He'll just stand up more. He'll be. I mean, you can probably have him play outside linebacker more in a 3-4 style.
For him that you kind of like as far as a popular player would recognize.
Well, even like guys like TJ Watt when they came out, TJ Watt was considered. The reason Dallas didn't take TJ Watt is because they ran a 4-down. They took Taco Carlton, So and then TJ Watt obviously turned into this beast. And they should have taken him. Yeah, they should have taken him originally.
Right.
But because he didn't fit the scheme. So TJ Watt would probably be not a comparison of like ability, I'm
Yep.
not saying that, but when they came out of college, actually, they were a lot alike. So that is kind of true. But that would be my comparison, I guess.
I got you. Makes sense.
The next guy, Kyle Kennard. This guy right here is leading the best defensive line in football in the college football right now. They are so good at South Carolina. They have so many interior defensive linemen that are going to be in this draft class. They have, of course, him, and then they have that freshman that I can never remember the name of because it always slips my mind. Williams.
I just had him pulled up.
Yeah.
Dylan Stewart.
Yes,
Dylan
Stewart. They have two Stewarts. That's they have two, and that messes me off. But yeah, this guy's really good, and I'm happy to see him playing so well after leaving Georgia Tech last year, coming to South Carolina, getting into the SEC. He's huge, 6'5", 254. Like, he's got them long arms.
He's tied for 5th in the country in sacks.
Yes.
5.5. And interestingly, Ezraku's in 2nd.
Yeah. So. Well, between the two, between the defensive line, like, there's just so much more talent on that South Carolina defensive line. They have to kind of, the stats kind of go all the way around down there. While with Ezraku, it's like, okay, it's just you.
Right.
You're the only guy.
He's got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he gets a little bit more love there because of that. But I think that Kyle Kennard is really good and definitely moving my boards.
He's one of those guys that if I'm watching South Carolina, it feels like every defensive play that they're on, I hear his name called.
Yeah.
If he's doing something, there's a pressure or he was in the gap or something going on with him.
Yeah.
He's everywhere.
Let me grab his pressure rate, actually, because I know it was pretty solid. He has an 18.1 pass rush win rate, which is a lot, which is very high. He's got 10 hurries already this year. He's got 3 hits, 5 sacks, a batted ball, 5.5 sacks, I guess. He's just been, doing his thing. 88.6 pass rush grade for him, and then 90.7 true pass set grade. Normally they go down when you get a true pass set. When, on a true pass set, that means you get a regular kick from the offensive lineman. They don't do like play action or something like that. So he's actually doing better when he's just coming off the ball and being aggressive. And it's good to see. He's been a beast this year, and I'm happy for him, like I said, because of his situation, leaving Georgia Tech and stuff like that.
Right.
And he, like I said, he's been killing it with one of the best defensive lines in football. So now, guys, we're going to talk about our fallers. And I know that one of these guys is definitely a faller in most people's eyes. I think we should start by talking about Carson Beck. And the reason he's on this list is more so because he was a preseason top 2 guy, projected to possibly be the number 1 player off the board in this draft. And now it is not as easy. No. It is a very muddy draft class for quarterback. And it's because he did not produce high at these high levels. Shedeur Sanders coming up, Cam Ward coming up.
Yeah.
Connor Wegman fell. Quinn Ewer's been injured. Right. But like, there's 7 guys that you could be like, there's a lot of guys you could be like, oh, well, all of these guys should probably be considered as possibly the number 1 player.
Right.
If you're Jalen Milroe, I didn't even say his name.
I was saying Milroe's got to be up there somewhere.
Garrett Nussmeier.
Jackson Dart's going to be continuing to throw the ball.
Baylor. Like, all these guys have a chance still to be the number 1 quarterback in this class, and that would make them the number 1 player off the board most likely, or very close to it.
Right.
But the problem, that's why he's falling down this list, is because he just did not solidify himself as the guy.
Yeah. And I mean, different from like Wigman and yours, he hasn't had an injury, at least nothing that's been publicly announced.
Yeah.
He's just not performed near as well as everyone kind of expected. They thought they'd have an offensive juggernaut, and he has 12 touchdowns.
Right, exactly. So I literally, in my thing, I wrote up, I said preseason top 2 quarterback.
Yep.
Him, Shedeur were probably the 2 guys that you were like, okay, they're going to go 1 and 2,
right,
based on what everybody is saying and all this stuff. Right.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what I thought or what we thought here.
Right.
We thought that it was very,
a whole nother conversation.
Very muddy.
Right.
And now I literally wrote to be decided. Because it is. I can't tell you where I think he should be, because there's still teams out there that are gonna be like, well, Carson Beck still has the best pocket presence and things like that.
Right.
Out of all these guys, the next guy is a really sad case, actually.
Yeah, his was surprising to me too.
Mm-hmm.
I was not expecting his fall off this year.
Ollie Gordon, if he would have come out last year, would have been the first running back off the board pretty easily.
Yeah, he was eligible last year.
He wasn't. Right? No, he wasn't.
Oh, if.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'm saying if he were to be able to come out, He would have been the first running back off the board.
Yep.
6'2", 210, I believe. You have it up.
ESPN is 225, but
beautiful, even better, even better. 101 carries, 3.8 yards per carry, and just
4 touchdowns.
His offensive line has looked awful, not helping him out in any way.
Not helping whatsoever.
It's just.
But he just appears not to. I mean, one of the big things you talk about with Ashton Jeanty is his ability to make you miss in a phone booth.
But
Ollie Gordon is not doing that at all.
I have the rates pulled up. We just talked about it.
Yep.
70.6 elusive rate. We just said, oh, here's Ashton Jeanty, 393. Here's Ollie Gordon, 70.6. Yards after contact per attempt is 2.73, which is awful.
What was Ashton's at like 7.5, I think?
7.95.
9.5.
Yeah.
So
that big difference, obviously. It's just they don't have a good O-line, and he's getting hit in the backfield, and it's just not looking pretty right now.
No.
And he's going to be a guy that probably fell, and I have my prediction is the 3rd round. He was a late first rounder in most people's eyes. Now I think he's a 3rd rounder, and it could get worse.
Right.
And that's a little, that's hard to take when you are a preseason All-American.
Oh, yeah. Preseason Heisman to some people.
Yeah.
Potential. Yeah, kind of like how I said, and he didn't have a choice this year, but Fannin, there's no benefit to him coming back. Ollie Gordon is an example of, again, he didn't have the option, but having another year come back in your draft stock, I don't want to say plummets, but dropping 2 rounds is
insane.
Good, especially when you look at the contract signings that they get at those different levels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also you get the 5th-year option as a first rounder and things like that. Running back is such a hard position in the NFL.
Especially right now with all the stuff going on with running back contracts.
And then add the fact that you're dropping rounds. And then add the fact that this is one of the deepest classes we've seen in, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Like Christian McCaffrey, Melvin Gordon, that class was like this class, in my opinion.
Right.
This might be a deeper class than that, though, because Ashton Jeanty is moving up.
Right.
Quinshon Judkins is really good.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a list of an insane list. Omarion Hampton, RJ Harvey, who is really moving up lists.
UCF.
Kyle Monungai, Caleb Johnson from Iowa.
Yeah.
Le'Veon Moss, maybe even Jay Knott. Like these guys. Jay Knott's awesome.
Yeah.
Taj Brooks, Texas Tech.
I mean, he's had a fun year. Their offense is just fun to watch.
I'm just wondering though, who isn't passing Ollie Gordon?
Yeah, Donovan Edwards.
Well, yeah, but he's not even the starter anymore. We don't even talk about him anymore.
Speaking of which,
Kalel Mullings is a guy that could have definitely been on this board.
I was about to say, yeah.
So you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. I don't know where he's going to go right now, and I have him 3rd, but it could be 5th pretty quickly.
And Oklahoma State in general also just doesn't look that great. So
yeah, exactly.
It'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it together the second half of the year. Like you said, the mental health part of that, of being able to convince yourself it's still worth the grind. And
come on.
Got to get it going now when they're already starting to struggle.
Well, he has been good. So college coaches have seen him. I mean, NFL coaches have seen him be good before. It's just, can he return to that being behind a bad offensive line and things like that?
Yeah.
His PFF rating isn't good either. It's not helping him that he's not playing well on top of that.
No.
So let's actually, I'm going to grab last year's PFF rating for him. He had 83.7. It's down to 72.6. Truly not that great at 83.7. It's above average.
Right.
But he was, a 2,000-yard guy. So I would expect it to be higher. Next up, though, we'll go back to an offensive lineman. We just talked about LSU and Texas being 2 of the teams that, have really solid O-line tackle duos. Well, Emory Jones has not looked good.
Right.
He has been one of the disappointments for them for sure, because he has no ability to run block. Literally 0. He's I don't know if it's bad. First off, it's bad hand placement. He sucks with his feet and he sucks with his hands. We talked about this on the Football Academy. You have to
watch that. Emory's big things to do.
Oh, absolutely. And it translates because he sucks with his feet and his hands. He's unpolished in those ways. And when he misses bad. And he gets, and they don't have any offense, and they don't have any rush offense because of it. Will Campbell's a lot better on the other side, but Emory Jones has been much worse.
Looks like for the season, his run blocking's a 50.6.
50.6 run blocking.
73.4 for pass blocking.
Right.
He's a total of 59.
Yeah. tough. It's very, very tough. He was much better last year. He had a 73.9 overall grade last year. He hasn't given up any sacks, only one hit and 4 pressures, so that's good. But also that has a little bit to do to credit Garrett Nussmeier, who gets the ball out very quickly
and accurately.
Yes, he's been playing really good, but I worry about Emory Jones, and he's going to fall. And I wanted him at guard. I thought he would have been a better guard than a tackle at the next level.
6'6", 315 as a guard is a massive guard.
Well, yes, but
for the height.
Watching this, and watching him not be able to run block, he can't play guard.
Right, that's true. Yeah,
and so I just have a hard time seeing him if he keeps going down this way. Like, he could always, have a switch and turn it on. He's very unpolished, like I said. Like, he has a lot of things that he can get better at, but he just has not.
Do you think he'll stay one more year then? Or how he'll handle that?
Maybe.
I think he has one more year.
Yeah, he has one more year. I think maybe, because it might be better for him. Which
he's one of those guys with how poor he's done, it might, like you said,
benefit.
Yeah, the opposite of the situation we talked about earlier. You kind of need that extra year of, all right, prove it. Prove you belong, or raise up your draft stock.
Yeah, exactly. This next guy is Oscar Delp, and he did the opposite of Harold Fannin. He has been absolutely atrocious. One of the worst tight ends in college football, as you can see, 465th out of 478 total tight ends, 38.3 PFF grade. He has a 25% drop rate, which is just awful. I just
1 out of every 4 passes.
He's only been thrown to, I think it was 17 times. Let me grab it.
Oh, having 3 catches.
He's had 9 targets. He's dropped 25% of them, and he's caught 3 of them.
So he's dropped 2-ish.
2 point. Yeah.
So probably 2. I'm assuming based off that.
That's pretty bad.
That's not ideal.
No.
I'd be not happy if our tight ends had a 25% drop rate.
Yeah, he's been one of the worst tight ends in football this year. Against Alabama, he had a 34.5 PFF grade, and then against Kentucky, he had a 31. Both away games. Every other game was at home.
Yeah.
Just saying. Well, I don't know if that matters. It really shouldn't, but
no, it always does. I mean, we see it. But, I mean, to be that bad on the road, though, that big of a difference should be talked about, though.
Yes.
Because it's not like you only play at home when you get to the NFL. You are playing as many away as you are home.
Yes, he has run 97 routes, 9 targets, 3 catches, 25% drop rate. And then let's just talk about the fact that on the other side, okay, well, you can suck at catching the ball as long as you're doing your other jobs well, because you are a tight end. Other things matter.
Yeah, a lot, especially in the NFL.
Well, he has a 56.3 run block grade.
Yeah, he's not doing good at that either.
No, he's awful. This was my dark horse at tight end. I was right on a couple, but we always have to talk about where we go wrong.
Yeah.
This is a guy I have gone wrong on at this point
in the year. Not your best call.
But... No. I'm never going to do this again. Actually, I did this already, but I'm not going to do where I take a guy that was a backup and put him as my dark horse.
Yeah, it's hard to after Brock Bowers. I don't know that I would have touched the guy who has to fill his shoes.
Well, there's 2 of them, and Benjamin Urasek has actually been pretty good.
Yeah,
he's a better receiver. I did this also. I almost picked Garrett Nussmeier for my quarterback dark horse, but I decided not to, and I would have gone really well.
Yeah, we've brought him up in our college recaps as a prospect spotlight,
and he was a backup last year. So I could have. It would have been one
behind the Heisman winner.
Yeah, it would have. So. Yeah, exactly. They both had to fill big shoes. One of them was capable, and one was not, and I picked the wrong one.
Yeah, you almost had it.
Yeah, but Oscar Delp, I'm really not sure at this point where he goes. He was a preseason 2nd or 3rd rounder, and now I don't even think he has to come back to school. First off, he's coming back to school.
He has to do that extra year or next year.
There is no way he's coming out this year. He is awful. He would be a undrafted free agent, and they would not even draft, and then they would not even pick him up, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So he's gonna have to play better. He would really help Carson Beck if he did play better. So yeah, he was one of the biggest misses on my part so far this year. But I did get Ash Genty, so I guess I got the literal biggest.
You got the best possible dark horse there was.
Yeah, exactly.
So we can take a few L's when you win the lottery on the win.
Exactly. Don't worry. Evan Stewart is an Oregon Duck.
Yes.
Used to be a Texas A&M Aggie.
Used to be.
Dustin's alum school.
Yep.
And Dustin actually probably has a lot more to say on this guy than I do, but I want to add the fact that he is the fourth option currently in this offense, and he is supposed to be this explosive player, and he has been awful.
Yeah, he hasn't done a whole lot.
When he was at A&M, how did he do?
When he played?
Yeah, when he actually was on the field, yes.
That was honestly the biggest issue with him, was getting onto the field. I mean, he was good for some explosive plays. We also had a not good offense, so I don't blame him for leaving whatsoever.
Fair. Yeah.
I would have left for Oregon too, with how the drama of the last 3 seasons, obviously this year being the shifter there, hopefully. But I mean, there were some allegations about missing practice and some attitude issues. But then coming out, I expected him to have a huge year. I expected him to be a Biletnikoff finalist, or at least be up there with how explosive this Dan Lanning offense is supposed to be. And he hasn't really done anything to separate himself. I think he's had one really big play this year.
One big play. And that was
67-yarder.
But he's only had 182 yards on the whole year.
Yeah.
And so 182 yards, 16 receptions, like that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns.
In conference, he has 5 receptions for 29 yards.
Nothing,
touchdown,
basically.
But
nothing, basically.
Yeah. I mean, nothing that makes you go, yeah, that's a guy I'm taking high for my wide receiver room.
Yeah. And one thing we talk about is, can he block? And this guy cannot block at all. This is one of the most that is his liability. He's a liability on the field if you're out running the ball. He has a 56.1 PFF grade, which is 801st out of 939 wide receivers. That's awful on top of that.
It's really bad for anyone tough at math. Really, really bad.
Yeah, it's bottom 20%. Yeah.
And bottom quartile, if you will.
Yes. So yeah, we know that he has to do a little bit better. He has no slot play, basically.
No.
He's just outplayed. I mean, Holden, Tez Johnson was I couldn't pick my dark horse for wide receiver originally, so it was Trey Harris and Tez Johnson. Tez Johnson has been the number 1 receiver in that offense currently.
Yes, he has.
Terrence Ferguson is a tight end that will be coming out this year, I believe. We'll see if he actually does. He is a guy that will be a pretty solid tight end at the next level as a receiver. Evan Stewart just hasn't shown up.
I mean, for reference, Tez Johnson's PFF grade is 76.8 on the year. His run blocking specifically is 63.6.
Yeah.
Evan Stewart's grade we have up there, the 56.1.
Right.
His run blocking is a 39.2.
It's really good.
Yeah, is it? Is it like golf where the lower the number, the better?
Oh.
I feel like the whole episode we've had the other way going on.
Yeah.
So.
Well, let's just say he's definitely Tez Johnson is like 155 pounds. Like, and he's still outplaying Evan Stewart in ways that he should not be able to.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it's just
PFF has Tez Johnson at 5'10", 165, and Evan Stewart at 6 foot 175.
Exactly.
Which means his run blocking should not be better.
Yes. It's hard to watch guys that are supposed to be good at football not be good at football because, like, with him, he has so much talent.
Yeah.
And then just wastes it, kind of. And I just don't appreciate that because I don't have that talent, and I wish I did sometimes, and he's going to be an NFL player. He'll probably be, I wrote 6th to 7th rounder.
I mean, he's still got the athleticism for sure.
Yeah. So he's a speedster and things like that, but
he'll be a project pick for somebody, I'm sure.
Exactly. The next guy has to be on here. Unfortunate situation for Harold Perkins Jr. I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to put him on here or not, but I think the fact that he has this out for season injury, knee injury.
Yeah.
I don't think he goes to the draft. He was a 1st round projected or early 2nd round projected guy. And now he has to go back to school, and he might not even next year when he comes out, he might not be the same guy. It's just really tough to
never know
to have this happen.
I think it was an ACL.
Yeah.
So you never know how people are just going to bounce back from that physically or mentally.
Yep. And it's going to be really tough to, for him to get through this. But I wanted to put him on here because he needs to be shouted out as a really good player that is definitely falling because of the situation that he is in.
Yeah.
While playing in his 4 games this year, he had a 21.7% missed tackle rate. He wasn't playing good. in the games
No.
he was playing in. He was
He
not
had a
playing
tough start
good.
to the year.
And then this happens. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a whole whammy for him.
Didn't
61.
Give himself a chance to come back.
Yeah.
61.8 PFF.
If he comes out, it's one of those situations. I was actually talking to Cam about it, but it's like Jabril Cox, who went to the Dallas Cowboys. Well, he came out after injury and he couldn't get on the field because of the fact that he was behind, all the things. I don't want that to happen here. I hope Harold Perkins goes back to school.
Yeah.
Basically. He had, like I said, he had a 21.7 missed tackle rate. Like, he's got to do better. He had 5 targets to him, 5 catches.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things. He gave up a 96.7 passer rating, which is just too much.
Yeah.
For a athletic linebacker like
he's
he is.
Incredibly athletic, though.
He's a freak.
Last year, I was terrified of him. Every time we snapped the ball, he was in the backfield before our running backs were, basically. It was scary.
He's a freak.
Yeah.
And I hope the best for him, basically. But I had to put him on here.
He's one of those guys I'm terrified to come back, but I hope he comes back because he deserves
it. Yeah. For your own team, you should be terrified.
Right.
Yeah.
For him, I hope he does and succeeds.
Yeah. He only had 5 tackles through 4 games. Yeah. Which is, a guy that is supposed to be one of the best football players at that position. Yeah. You'd expect him to do better than that. And I hope he does.
Yeah, 100%.
Going on to the next grouping. Got to talk about some big boys. Well, really big boy and then a normal sized big boy.
Still a big boy to me. I mean,
yeah.
These are both large humans.
Deion Walker is the biggest human in college football at 6'6", 345.
Yeah.
He is insanely but at the same time, there are cons to that. We talked a lot last year between me and Cam about T'Vondre Sweat and why everybody was dropping him down draft boards and stuff. Well, I was like, no, I'm staying pat that T'Vondre Sweat's a top 50 player.
Sure.
While everybody else was like, he's going to be an 80th player or a 100th player. And I'm like, no, he's better than that. I don't worry about the same things that they're worrying about. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
That's because T'Vondre Sweat had the ability to stay on the field. He played more snaps than Byron Murphy, who was the other defensive tackle at Texas.
Right.
Well, Deion Walker, on the other hand, looks like crap about 75% of the game. And 25% of the game, he's the best player on the field.
Right.
But the other 75% of the game, you're like, hey, man, you can't look that tired all the time.
Right.
Like, your conditioning is Albert Hainsworth bad right now.
Well, when you're 6'6", 345, that's insane.
Look at the belly. Look at that belly.
Yeah. Where do you think the 345 is going? It's not all to the biceps.
But it's a problem.
Right.
It needs to be fixed.
Oh, absolutely.
He's probably bigger than that. He's probably like 380.
Yeah.
And they just put 345 to make us not think he's that big.
The old beginning of the season or in the off season when he slimmed down. Definitely not before the team lunches and everything kicked back in.
But when you're that big and you're that dominant and you become a liability as the drive goes on, that's a problem. As they get closer to the end zone, you should be better.
Yeah,
and
that should be the time when we want you out there. You stand right there and you make sure he does not go past you.
Right. Watching the LSU game versus Kentucky, there were a couple plays. I was watching it from Skycam because that's my favorite way to watch. I can see all the gaps. I can watch all the things that mattered, in my personal opinion. And I'm watching it in Skycam, and I'm watching him just because I was like, let's single him out on this play and see how he does. Oh my goodness, he literally just stood straight up and didn't pass rush, and I was like, what is happening? Like he's a top 15 player. He was this is also another thing. He was a top 10 preseason predicted player. He is
overall correct.
Overall. Yeah. He's currently late first round, and I think he'll fall past that. Until he gets his weight and his fitness under wraps.
His PFF tackle rating against Ole Miss, second best school they played, they did play Georgia, was a 29.8.
PFF tackle?
Yeah, their tackle grade.
I see.
Yeah,
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean against Georgia it was 75, and that's about what it's been all year, 75.4, 75. But then to go against Ole Miss and get a 29, it's just one of those, or 29.8. It's one of those things you usually can't have games that bad,
especially against good teams.
Top 10 player.
Yeah, especially against good teams.
Yeah.
His pass rush win rate is currently an 8.3, which is okay for an interior defensive lineman. His run stop rate is really high, but he is dropping because of the fitness, and he has to get that worked out. Yeah. But I really like him, so I'm putting him on here almost as like a wake up call. Like, hey, Like, I wish you watched this show because we want you to be good. Like
Say,
you are.
Are you going to be the one to motivate him?
I'm trying. I want him to be good because he is so good at football when he is on.
He was one of those players I got for free on the College Football Ultimate Team game. And I was like, oh, sweet. I'm excited to watch him this year. And then he just hasn't performed like we were hoping.
Yep, exactly. So let's stop harping on that. Next up is a Florida State player because I had to put one on here. He was also a dark horse. And as you can tell, he's on the Fallers list. So I missed on this one too. But that's okay.
Got Ashton Jeanty.
And Trey Harris.
And Trey Harris.
Help me out.
You got to keep those ones at the top. Remind everyone of those ones.
Yes, absolutely. But Patrick Payton has been just terrible. He's 7. Okay, this is a pass rusher. Like, his job is to be good at rushing the passer, right? Earlier we talked about Kyle Kennard. We talked about Donovan Ezeraku.
We even brought up Dylan Stewart.
Yeah. All those guys have plus 15% win rates.
Okay.
Patrick Payton has a 7.7% win rate right now. That is worse than Dion Walker. That is worse than Dion Walker.
Just spent a while harping on.
Yes. So that's awful. There's that. He's worse than most of the high-graded interior defensive linemen and almost all of the pass rushers in the NCAA currently. He is one of the lowest graded edge rushers at 56.5, and that's 778 out of 870. That's awful, man.
That was really, really bad.
He has not looked good, and it's going to continue. If this team is just not going to get better, no one is going to look good, I guess. I don't know what it is. They're all just going to be bad at football.
On our weekly recaps, you bring up the coach every week, so
yeah, screw that guy.
I mean, at this point, Payton, though, where do you see him getting drafted this year? Do you think he needs another year?
He was a second round projected guy,
right? And where do you think he's at now, though? I mean,
fifth.
If you're 778,
got to be fifth, right? Anymore. Fifth, sixth.
I mean, do you think he comes back? Do you think Norvell finds a way to well, if Norvell's still there.
If he leaves, I think we can get him back.
Fair enough. He
comes option.
Back and goes, maybe there's a chance.
Yeah. No, it's one of those things where he needs to come back, but I think he'll be too prideful to come back.
I mean, getting drafted is still better than not getting
drafted. Getting paid, now.
With NIL.
He probably makes the same.
Yeah.
If he's a fifth rounder.
Like Cam Ward, for instance, is 100% making more this year than if he went into the draft.
Last year, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Making more this year at Miami University. Yeah. Sorry.
I agree with that. This is not a situation that I can really tell you. I think he'll come back. That would be best for him because there's a reason he's on the Fallers list. There's a reason we're talking about him.
Right.
If you have the opportunity to come back and you're not playing well, come back.
Yeah.
Get better. But he's got a long way.
I mean, with how this year's gone, though, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to leave with the fear it's only going to
he could just transfer. He could just transfer somewhere else.
Oh, that's true. That is still
now that we allow that.
We let that
so much.
Anybody anymore now.
Yeah.
Not just your freshman. You think about that anymore.
He could just go to A&M and
I mean, it worked out. Nick Scordon
play on a great defense. Nick Scordon was already the number one edge rusher.
It worked out for Nick Scordon.
That is not. It's not because of A&M.
Now he's just really the number one.
Yeah. Nick Scordon was already Nick Scordon before he went to A&M.
I still appreciated it.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, y'all needed somebody.
We needed a lot.
And y'all got
we lost a lot, like Evan Stewart.
Yeah.
Which turned out to not be that big of a loss for us, but as we saw.
Guys that didn't, make this list, obviously. There's a bunch of guys that are falling. There's a bunch of guys that are rising. Yeah. Let me stop sharing.
We kind of referenced a few of them throughout, mentioned like Nussmeier. Could have thrown him on there.
Yeah. Because he climbed a lot from the original. Oh, yeah.
The guy can throw a ball.
Yeah.
So,
and there was a reason he was on our watch list early in the year because I'm like, hey, he came in for one game and had 300 plus yards last year.
Yeah.
He's legit. We need to talk about this guy. So
yeah, it's hard to touch on everybody though. We have limited time and
yes. And but yeah, like we said, we have limited time. I'm sure y'all would love to get out of here. So we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Go like, comment, subscribe. Tell us who y'all's biggest risers are and your biggest fallers. Y'all watch college football, and there are 50 games on every week. There's no way I can watch it all.
Nope.
I would love to hear.
I try.
Yeah, I know.
I have a good 4 or 5 games on a time of switching between, but I still obviously miss a lot.
Yes. But I would love to hear who y'all want us to talk about. We are going to do these videos probably every 4 weeks, kind of how me and Cam are doing our I'm so sorry. Our power rankings for the NFL. These will be every 2 weeks. So power rankings, then this, then power rankings, right? We'll talk about different things. We're not just going to do risers and fallers list, because next time there's going to be something more important. When we get there, we'll decide, and we'll get this out to y'all so y'all can see kind of these guys that are coming up in the draft. There's a lot of really good football players in this draft, and it's a very interesting draft because there is not a number one quarterback. There's so many good running backs. There's a lot of good defensive players, and it's going to be fun to break it all down.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, if there's any other segments y'all want us to throw on or mostly interested in, either for this or our college football recaps just in general, please drop those down too.
Yeah.
We'd love to add more or talk about different things we haven't before or in a different way.
Yeah, if y'all have some cool ideas, we'll definitely listen, and we'll let y'all get out of here, and we appreciate y'all hanging out with us.
Well, thank y'all very much for joining us.